Yes, we have two extremes of weather to contend with. We have snow and ice across northern areas, and in the south we have our heavy rain that's now cleared, but severe flood warning in force because some rivers are slow to respond from the heavy rain earlier this week.
But dreadful if you're...
So much going on. So they're sort of on this dividing line. So we've obviously got Nick in the snow and Nithya in the rain, and that's the problem. The Leicestershire, Lincolnshire, those areas that have the evacuation orders are right between this line of where we have the mild air to the south that had the snow. But when you have that milder air just slowly creeping in, so for those parts of the Midlands, it was the huge amounts of rain at the same time. And this is why we have our one severe flood warning in force. Just to point out, there are 500 other huge amounts right across the country. But I'll talk you through what's happening right now. So the severe flood warning, which is in force, as Nithya said, means danger to life. And I've got a map to show exactly where it is. It's between Loughborough and Leicestershire on the River Soar. So this is Loughborough here, Leicestershire is just down here. And if we zoom into this area, this is the part of the river where we have our severe flood warning in force, less than a mile from where Nithya was standing. And the problem along that river is they've just had the highest river level that they have ever recorded. So this graph shows what the normal river level should be, around about here. This is a track through time. This black line is where the peak river level has ever been recorded, and overnight it was higher than it's ever been recorded. Some welcome news I've just seen from the gauges right along that river. The river level is steady and slowly starting to fall. So it's responding from the rainfall that we had yesterday. So hopefully this is as high as it's set to get. So let's look at the reason why. They had a huge amount of rainfall. In the first 6 days of the week, they've already had all of their January rainfall. And thankfully today it is dry. But yesterday, nearly half of that rain fell. So that's what helped to ramp it all up. But there is another side to this, of course, because we have the cold. Yes, we have the rainfall, but the other side is there's lots of snow and ice warnings across large parts of the country with more snowfall. This is the snow radar from last night showing more snowfall through these western areas and sub-zero temperatures in the coming nights, way below average for the time of year. That's why there's a cold health alert in force for very young, very old, very vulnerable people. Health services are going to be inundated with people who are having cold weather illnesses, so that's why this alert's in force too. The big thing for today, and the more important thing for today, it is significantly drier than it was yesterday. So the risk of flooding is set to diminish in the coming days, is because we don't have huge amounts of rainfall to come, but it is still cold, frosty and icy. Temperatures sub-zero for many. That means anything that got wet yesterday will freeze, and all of these new showers coming in today are falling as rain, sleet and snow onto cold surfaces if untreated. That again makes those roads and pavements very tricky to drive in and to walk along. Yes, we still hear there's been delays and cancellations at airports because runways still have issues with the snow and ice that's lying. So yet again, it's worth checking before you travel. And in parts of the Midlands where we continue to, for some northern areas, see snow melt, there's still the risk of river levels rising, particularly some of those slow responding rivers. The advice is do not drive through floodwaters. It takes just 30 centimetres of water to move a car, and the water can very rapidly rise. So yes, a drier day today, a brighter one, 2s and 3s on the thermometer, but add in the wind, it will feel freezing. We have very divided weather across the country. For many, yes, it is cold, frosty and icy, but for others, we have hundreds of flood warnings in force. Hundreds of flood warnings and flood alerts, but we have one severe flood warning. That's from Leicestershire, where there is a danger to life. There's been evacuations for people in flooded properties or properties at risk of flooding. The river level there at the moment is steady and looks like it should start to fall after the huge amounts of rain we had over the last few days. Here's how it looks for today. Warnings in force for the weather across western areas for snow and ice, sub-zero temperatures. Any wet weather that's fallen could freeze, particularly on roads and pavements that have been untreated. So the advice is check before you travel and allow extra time. This radar with the blue shows rain, but the white shows snowfall. So these are the snow showers that have fallen overnight through these western areas where we have our ice warnings in force. And that is why today is a story of sunny spells for many of us, but cold, frosty conditions by night. And in the coming night, temperatures are set to go way below freezing, which is why we have a cold health alert for people very vulnerable, old and young with health ailments, have the risk of very, very low temperatures. So today it's one of sunny spells and scattered wintry showers out towards the west, 2 to 5 degrees on the thermometer. When you add in the wind chill, it will feel sub-zero for many of us and stays very icy. Does this cold weather last through the next 7 days? Well, let's take a look that outlook. So we split the country in half. In the north of the UK, where we have our coldest weather and the snow still lying, our temperatures are way below freezing, but return back to where they should be by the start of next week. Welcome news if this cold is just way too much for you. Snow showers for the next few days, but then thereafter, the outlook is increasingly dry. Also welcome news. Fortunes further south for England and Wales as we head through the next 7 days. Temperature-wise, we are sitting again way below average for the rest of the week, moderating a little into the weekend. And yes, there's some rain around for the next few days in the form of showers, but nowhere as heavy as the last few days, with no flooding in the forecast for the rest of the week.